On March 25th, there is a lunar eclipse in Libra. Eclipses are about change, and Libra is about relationships and partnerships. This means that either you're going to ask someone to change, or you need to change. What does this mean for you? That's what we're going to talk about. Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the lunar eclipse. It's on March 25th. It's at 5 degrees of Libra. We're going to do a short overview, and then we're going to go sign by sign. Eclipses bring change, and so it's kind of like a course correction from the universe. In the case of a lunar eclipse, the moon, which is what we need and what we desire and what we feel is missing, is blocked from getting to the sun, which is the ideal in this case. And so there's something in the way. And in a lunar eclipse, the thing that's in the way is the Earth. And so that represents all the mundane, everyday things, the list of things to do, and, your job, your obligations, and all of that. That's what seems to be blocking you from what you need the most. And so it's kind of like being all dressed up for the party, but then you stop to scrub the kitchen floor, and so you miss the coach to the ball. Now, Libra represents all types of relationships, but this can manifest for you in several different ways. If you're looking for love, this can mean that because of the pain of past rejections or because you fear rejection, you're not getting out there, and so everything looks more attractive, even scrubbing the kitchen floor. And if you're already in a love relationship, it could be that there are issues that the two of you need to work out to make the relationship better, but you're so caught up in the everyday things that you need to do, the job, the kids, etc., that you're not actually stopping long enough to, really work out those issues in the relationship, like, getting the terms identified, empathizing with each other, even just hashing out something that happened over the course of the week. So here you are, this moon trying to reach the sun, and you've got the Earth in the way. So the only way you can do it is to course correct, to go around. And that means to change something or to ask the other person to change. But as I said, this is about all types of relationships. So this could be friendships and feeling like you want friendships, but you're too busy to go out and cultivate friendships, or you're not in a situation where you see someone long enough to have a relationship or a friendship grow. Or a business partnership. Maybe that you are both so busy doing your different areas of the business that you're having trouble coming together and maybe agreeing on different things, or coming together even to discuss the problems at hand. Now, the sign of Libra is represented by the scales, and so we can almost see it like a tennis game, and that is, if I hit the ball to you, then I'm expecting you to hit it back to me. A person can't play tennis by themselves. And so even if that ball comes back very fast or very slow, or, I don't know all the terms for tennis, but it means that at least you're getting some sort of response. And when you do, then you can deal with it, and back and forth you go. So perhaps the course correction is going to just be initiating a conversation and continuing to initiate that conversation until there is a back and forth. Another aspect of Libra is that Libra wants everything balanced and fair. And that, again, is the scales. And so then when the discussion starts, maybe this is about where you think something's unfair or where they think something is unfair, and how you can balance out the relationship. Because this is a lunar eclipse, emotions can run really high. And with the Libra energy of wanting it balanced and fair, there can be some frustration among people who are looking for a love relationship, who feel that they have done the things to attract the love relationship, and yet they haven't received what they feel should happen. And I think some of this is because the universe isn't just waiting for us to tick a box to say, oh, that's completed and here's your reward. I think that the universe is looking for growth. It's looking for change. And so the eclipse comes along and gives you an opportunity to change, gives you different ways of doing things. And that might mean that you hear something different, or somebody says something and it registers, or you just see a new way forward. And when you take that, then a new door opens up. That's why eclipses are such pivotal moments in people's lives, because they do facilitate change. Libra is also the sign of beauty, and more than ever these days we are inundated with, perfection out there in the form of ads and, created AI stuff that sets a baseline in our minds that is completely unachievable. And so we're constantly measuring ourselves against something that is unrealistic. And it's quite necessary for us to recognize that. And I know it's really hard, because once that baseline is set, we tend to measure from that line. But of course, the Libra also offers us the solution. And that solution is to go out and meet people just for the sake of meeting them, to not be so much looking for the friendship or the love relationship, but to go and be curious about who they are and to find out, like, what do they like and where have they been and where do they want to go in their world. And doing that, then a friendship can happen, a love relationship can happen. Now, this eclipse is at 5 degrees, and I give a 5-degree orb. That means our orb goes from 0 degrees to 10 degrees. The signs that are going to be most affected are going to be the cardinal signs. So that is Aries and Libra, and Cancer and Capricorn. And so if you have your sun, moon, or rising sign between 0 degrees and 10 degrees of one of these cardinal signs, you're getting a very strong hit. Now, if you get a strong hit, it means that there's going to be some decision that you make over the week on approach to the eclipse and the week after that will cause changes in your behavior or changes in your relationship over the next few weeks and months. So it's not that something happens on the day of the eclipse. That's why they call it an eclipse season. It's because you're already recognizing that there is a block to what you want, and so you're trying to find your way through it. Now, you could be receiving a minor hit from this eclipse, and that's if you have any planet from 0 to 10 degrees, which is, I know, a pretty wide net, you're going to get a minor hit. And so depending on the planet and depending on the aspect, this could be anything from you making some changes to some people are changing things in and around you, and that ripple is affecting you in some way. So a lot of times people are going to go through a minor hit and they're going to see something that they could change. They have, a really good discussion with their partner, or they have an opportunity for a new friendship. And so that can come up if you're getting a minor hit. And in a way, this particular lunar eclipse is kind of a precursor to the solar eclipse that is coming. That solar eclipse is on April 8th. That's going to be at 21 degrees of Aries. And that is going to be one where your sense of who you are and trying to retain who you are gets challenged by basically the outside world. And so are you going to be yourself, or are you going to try to mold yourself into what everybody else wants you to be? Well, we're going to talk more about that. I'm getting into the solar eclipse here. We're going to talk more about the solar eclipse in a couple of weeks. And eclipses can be tough times. So if you find that you want someone to help you with what is being signaled in your chart about what's ahead for you, I do readings. There's a link in the description. And now in this video, we're doing tropical Western astrology. It's a good idea to listen to your rising sign, also called your ascending sign. This is going to give you a very clear picture of what's going to be happening over the next couple of weeks. I also have a video course called Finding the Hidden Money in Your Chart. This is for people who want to know some more about their chart, who want to look at specifically the different avenues money can come in and where money might be and that perhaps you haven't accessed yet. There's a link to this in the description. Okay, let's go sign by sign. Okay, Aries, you're doing this eclipse hit in your area of relationships, partnerships, and collaboration. And the interesting thing about your sign is that sometimes you can swing to the extreme and be an island, doing everything yourself, having complete autonomy, or at least trying for it. And, just moving forward and saying to the rest of the world, you know, if you want to catch up, you can, but I'm moving forward. Or you can swing to the other side where you do relationships so much that you're doing everything for other people, where you're completely focused on what they're doing, what their happiness is, rather than looking at what you need. And so Libra energy is about balance and finding that middle ground. And that might be with a love relationship, but it also could be with one of your kids or a business partner or a friend. So when you're looking at this energy and looking at where to change, try to find the middle ground. One of the things that eclipses do is it brings the issue to our attention. And that means that even if this is something that perhaps you put on the back burner, or you have felt like we could just gloss over this for now, that can't happen during the eclipse. And so if you address something, then you're moving towards the energy. But if you don't address it, somebody else will. And therefore you will need to have whatever discussion or whatever changes are necessary to move forward, because right now the eclipse says energy is blocked. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the sun is making a semi-sextile to Mars. This means that small adjustments are what is necessary for you to meet someone new. So if you're on a particular app, maybe you have to change the settings. Maybe you have to tweak your profile. Perhaps you are going to different places to meet someone. Maybe you need to just sit in a different spot, or wear something different, or have a different opening line. So it's small changes that are going to make the difference right now. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus and Mars are in the same sign, but they're not really talking. In fact, if anything, they're getting farther apart. So this is a difficulty during an eclipse, especially one that's focused on relationships, because it means that one or both of you aren't listening, that you are going your own direction and not necessarily paying attention to the other. So because these two are in the same sign, you do have an opportunity, but it's going to take a little bit of work, and you may want to do something on the spiritual side, and that is to kind of send a psychic message to your partner to say, hey, if you want to talk about this, I'm ready. And that is to just visualize it, just, say it in your mind and just push that message to them, rather than trying to do a direct confrontation. So it's a little bit subtle, but this is Pisces energy that you're doing. And so Pisces energy, it can permeate. And so you just having the thought could plant a seed in their mind, and then they initiate the conversation. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Venus, which is in Pisces now, and it's kind of behind the scenes, but it is in a very artistic, sort of creative placement. And so this is where you get creative with something that you're doing to make money. So that can be anything from looking at different investments that are based in companies that are doing something creative or innovative. Or this might be you designing your logo, or looking at your brand, or maybe changing up how you are pitching what you do by making it more creative or artistic, or doing something that is a little bit more subtle in some ways. There's also some energy here for doing a little bit of magic, and that is to do a vision board, or to light incense that attracts money energy, or to do a little bit of feng shui so that you open up your entryway to allow the flow of opportunities. So this is doing something a little bit behind the scenes and a little bit more spiritually oriented to get the money that you're looking for. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is making a semi-square to Pluto. The semi-square energy means that stuff can happen, but there's a little bit of friction to make it happen. And that is that you may be in this mode of wanting to do the visualization or to do the designs and the creative part of it, and not really wanting to get on the phone and talk to the customers, or to actually, redo the website or repurpose things, or all of that more mundane stuff. In this case, the mundane stuff's kind of in the way, and you want to just do the fun part. And so, but it's a semi-square, so that means that if you can get past that friction, you can make more money over the next 2 weeks. So that means that the customers are there waiting for your call. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, Venus is making a sextile to Uranus. This is a very nice aspect. You have some real opportunities here to make more money. You just need to be seen, because there's a lot of energy here that's hidden. And some of that is that, you know, maybe you work at home, or maybe your boss has been away. You just need to introduce the topic. But with the sextile, if you take action, you do have an opportunity. Okay, Taurus, you're getting this eclipse hit in your area of work, health, daily routines. And so this may mean that it's necessary for you to ask for some help. You know, sometimes you get very focused on just doing the next thing and the next thing. And so perhaps you need to ask your employer for an assistant, or get an assistant yourself. This may be that you are trying to relate with coworkers and having some difficulty, and you need to find maybe more about them, or allow them to get to know you so that they understand, you know, your routines. This may be about balancing your routines. Perhaps for your health, you're needing to get more rest or more exercise, but you're spending so much time working and doing things that you don't have time. So finding some balance in that. So that's where the focus is. And with eclipses, almost all the time, we know what we need to change. You know, it's already kind of nagging at us. And so then you say to yourself, all right, I know what I need to do, and now how do I motivate myself to do it? And the eclipse brings that motivation. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is not making an aspect with Mercury. In fact, most of the energy is actually around friendships. And that's, in the opening, that's kind of what I was talking about, is looking for a love relationship. Instead of that being the goal, look to meet people, be curious about them, meet many people, and, you know, maybe they become friends, maybe they become clients, but in and amongst them, maybe then you can meet the person who is the love. But this is a very diffused sort of energy this time, and so that means that if you are very focused on, I'm going to meet that person, that's not going to work over this next 2 weeks at least. And so focus on just meeting people and doing things that are social or community minded, and that can help you meet someone. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making a semi-square to Pluto. So in all that we were talking about with the eclipse, this is probably where the difficulty is going to be with a person that you're in a very close relationship with, as a partner or a friend or a business associate. So look through, you know, like your relationships and say, all right, who seems unhappy, or are you unhappy in one of these relationships? And the semi-square says that initiating the conversation is going to be tough, but once you get it going, then you will be able to work things out. But it is just going to feel really hard to get things started. And so leave a lot of openings for them to get it started, if possible. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the Mercury, which is actually rising in this chart, which means it's extremely noticeable. So this is that there are new ideas that you're getting, new opportunities that are around you. And so you want to stop the routines and stop this, you know, the kind of the treadmill that you're on long enough to see that there are some true opportunities for you. And maybe those are a collaboration. Maybe it's just an idea that you can do yourself. So, but it's right here, right now. Now, when it comes to money from business or from your investments, Mercury's not making an aspect with Jupiter, but Mercury is heading in that direction. And that means that there are going to be some big profits that you can take. I think they're outside this 2-week period. So, you know, sometimes we just have to do the work and the rewards come later. And so this is one of those cases. Now, when it comes to money from your career, so that would be like a paycheck, you have very good energy. Mercury is making a semi-sextile to the Neptune. Neptune's in that house, and so that means you do have an opportunity to make more money through a raise or a bonus, or if you're negotiating for a higher salary because you're looking for a job, you have the opportunity to get that conversation started. Oftentimes with eclipses, we feel that compulsion to make a change, and so you know, like if you've held back about saying something, this could be the time where you actually get an opening where somebody says something and you get to chime in and start that conversation. So that can happen over this next 2 weeks. Okay, Gemini, you're doing this eclipse hit in your area of fun and creativity, as well as children and fertility and risk-taking and romance. So I know that's a lot of different things. And so this is an eclipse, so you have a sense of what this is going to be, whether that is getting a different relationship going with one of your kids, or trying to have more fun in your life, or trying to move your dating to more romance and excitement, or maybe taking a risk on a creative project. So, you know, pay attention to the things that you're looking for, so because that can give you a key to a new direction that you can go. And then remember that eclipses are just a point of change where you make a decision and then the actual actions could unfold over weeks and months. So this is just the decision point where you decide, okay, I'm going to go a new direction, or I'm going to allow someone to come into my life so we can connect. And that's what the eclipse is for. So if I wanted to get really specific about this, this would be like recognizing that the person you are dating is the one, or recognizing that they're really not the one and that you should move on. Or this is maybe recognizing that you do want to expand the family, but it's going to take some extra steps to make that happen. Or perhaps that you are holding yourself back because you're afraid of taking the risk of having more fun or being more creative or doing a little romance. And so you make the decision that you're going to do it. So now when we look at love relationships, specifically new love, it's really interesting because this lunar eclipse is lighting up that house. So it's extremely strong right now, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Mercury. And so I think what's happening here is that you're shifting how you are presenting yourself in the world and who you're talking to, and maybe where you're going to meet people, because we have a very strong area of community and friendships and connections in general. So it feels like you're out in the world, which is wonderful, but you seem to be out in the world in a different way, and this is attracting new people, and so therefore a love relationship can form. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's not making an aspect with Jupiter, and some of the energy is a little bit hidden. So this would indicate that there is an issue, but what it seems like on the surface may not actually be, that there's something underneath, and maybe that is something you haven't touched within yourself, or that they are unaware of, that they are saying one thing that they're very upset about, you know, A, but it's really B that's bothering them. So this is going to take a little bit of digging, and because there's no aspect, it's not so easy to instantly find, you know, here's the problem. So it's kind of like if there's a plumbing problem, you have to check all of the pipes. So if that feels like too much, remember the eclipse is here to help you. So the eclipse will bring something to the surface, and so then you can say, here's the leak. Hand me the wrench, we're going to fix this. Now, when it comes to your money, you are pulling money from the moon, which is, of course, the instigator of the lunar eclipse. Now, you always pull your money from the moon, which means that, you know, in your life, you do have lessons about how money grows and shrinks in your life, and this can give you some concerns about your personal security. You know, if something seems uncertain, it's hard to feel secure about it. So, and now it falls in this house of creativity and risk-taking, causing you to feel like, well, maybe I need to take a risk or do something bigger, or if I only had a consistent partner, then things would be better, or if my kids weren't taking all my money, then things would be better, you know, these types of things. So, and the eclipse says do something different, take a different attitude, change something. So, because, you know, the chart is the GPS, and the eclipse says the road, the bridge is out ahead. You must make a change. So with that, because this is a partnership type of eclipse, this is to ask others what they recommend and kind of see if, you know, when you do a consensus, what kind of information you get. And so you've got a ton of energy coming from friends and acquaintances and business contacts and things like that. So that's where you go out into the world, even the strangers out there, the podcasts and the videos and all that, and find that nugget of information that resonates with you, where you can then stop and say, this is the change that I need to make. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the moon's not making an aspect with Saturn. So it's quite possible that whatever you were going to take a profit on is not as profitable at the moment. Like, you have to wait for perhaps a couple of weeks. When we have eclipse energy, plus, you know, Mercury's going to go retrograde in a couple of weeks, the markets can really tumble. Because, you know, not to mention that this is a dragon year. So if you think of what the dragon, even the appearance of the dragon, it's like up and down and up and down. So the markets have, at the time of this recording, been way up. And so it just makes sense that when something gets too high, that there's less oxygen up there, and then it starts to fade and drop down very, very quickly. So it's quite possible at the time of this eclipse that we're already seeing weakness in the market. And so that can be a great buying opportunity. But just remember, if you're in a long-term position, then it doesn't matter if the markets go up and down. You just allow them to go down, and if you have then cash, you can buy stuff at a discount. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, you do have some very strong energy. It is an inconjunct, though, between the moon and Mars, and that means that you have to make an adjustment, or they're going to have to adjust. And so, but you do have the Sun, the North Node, Chiron, and Mercury in that house. You have a lot of planets elevated, which might mean that you are looking for a new job, and so you can do some salary negotiations as you're going in. But it also could be that, you know, there are different positions in your company now, and so you can negotiate for getting a raise along with additional duties or a new title or something like that. So you have really strong energy right now for making more money in your career. Okay, Cancer, you are doing this lunar eclipse right at the base of your chart in the area of home and family. It will have possibly some effects on that opposite side too, which is career and reputation. And so you are moon ruled. And so when lunar eclipses come around, that means that it feels strong for you. On the other hand, it has always felt strong for you, and that has made you a stronger person. I mean, no one should underestimate Cancer and the power behind that, because you are a cardinal water sign, and so when water wants to go somewhere, it will. So, you know, you need to recognize that when you have ever hit an obstacle, you do go around it. And so think of the river finding its way to the ocean. No matter what's in the way, it's going to find a way to get home. And so with this particular eclipse in the area of home and family, this is about family relationships. And of course, those can be, you know, both wonderful and painful. And so hashing out something with a family member could be what this eclipse is about. This also could be connected to a roommate or a neighbor where you have adjoining walls. That can be the person that you're dealing with. This also could be that family at work. Like if, you know, a lot of times Cancer energy wants to have a family wherever they go. And so it may be that, you know, somebody is leaving the job and you are very connected to that person, or that there's some new energy there and the dynamic is odd. So this can be you separating yourself, maybe saying that you're moving on to another job, but you're going to miss these people. And so that's the type of energy. I know that's a lot of different categories, but you know what it is. You'll receive a message weeks before to say, this I know I need to make some changes about in my life. And just follow your intuition on that. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's making a trine to Pluto. And I gotta say, you're one of the only signs that is doing a good aspect in this whole chart. So this means you have an opportunity to have that Cupid's arrow that's struck by lightning, that just fireworks sort of meeting with someone. So you do want to get out there and do social things, you know, go to parties or social events, or let your friends introduce you to someone, or, you know, let your family fix you up, because you'll have really good energy over this next 2 weeks for meeting someone for a love relationship. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's not making an aspect with Saturn. And that's the interesting part, because if you live with this person, you have both this need, because of the lunar eclipse, to work out something in the relationship, and yet you're not really understanding each other because there's no aspect going on. And so the two of you may be talking at cross purposes for a little while until you dig down deep enough to find out what's really bothering the other person. And it may be necessary for you to focus on their feelings rather than your own at first, so that you can get them invested in the conversation enough to hear how you feel. So it's going to take a little bit more work, but if this is the area that you're dealing with this eclipse, you can do it. Otherwise, it's likely that this will be, you know, about somebody else who lives in the household, or some other family member, or, as I said, someone in your work family. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the sun, which is elevated in this chart. That means that it is easier for you to get a new job. It's easier for you to get a promotion. Like, if you are looking for a change, this is the time to plant those seeds. And it doesn't mean that the change will happen over this 2 weeks, because this is an eclipse. It's just a decision then starts things in motion, and then over the next few weeks or months, you are in that energy. So you have such great energy right now for finding something that you want to do. So, you know, write down on a piece of paper what it is that you would like in the way of a job. And then at the bottom of the page, of course, write "or better," and then either carry that around with you, or sleep on it, or put it in a special place in the house, so that you can have this message sent to the universe, so that you can see these opportunities when they come up. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the sun's making a semi-square to Uranus. This is a challenging aspect, but it is an aspect. So there are profits to be made, but there are hoops that have to be jumped through. So that means that, you know, maybe you're going to sell off some of your crypto, but to get the funds out of that account is challenging. Or that, you know, any of these things that are related to your business income, there's friction when it comes to actually getting the profits, but the profits are there. You can do it. So just, you know, grit your teeth and do it, and that way you can make more money over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, even though the sun's not making an aspect with Venus, you have such a strong career house. You've got Jupiter and Uranus in that house. There's enough, and we even have some mutual reception going on, because Jupiter's in Taurus, ruled by Venus in Pisces, and Pisces is co-ruled by Jupiter. So we have enough of a connection here to say that something really could happen. So get the conversation started. This is a good time to, and a time where you may feel compelled to do it anyway, or that someone may say to you, like, how long has it been since you had a raise? And you said, funny you should ask me that. And then you can get that conversation going. Okay, Leo, you are doing this lunar eclipse in the area of paperwork and communication in general. This is also neighbors and siblings, cousins. It is about contracts and lots about activities that you might be doing together. And so any sort of points of contention could come up because of a miscommunication, or that you want to do something and they don't want to do that, or vice versa. And this might be around siblings and cousins, or someone in your very close by in your very local community. But it also could be whoever you communicate with. So if you're in sales, this could be having an interaction with a customer because of the communication factor here. Now, the lunar eclipse can give you that feeling that how you are communicating and what you're trying to say is not being heard or understood by the other person, or that people keep saying the same thing to you over and over, and you're saying, why do they keep repeating themselves? And that is that there's some part of this that they don't feel like they're heard. So that's where you want to take apart this individual words that are being said and see if you both agree on the definition of those words, or maybe looking at how you're saying something and figure out a couple of other ways to say it to see if that resonates with the person who you're trying to communicate with. Because lunar eclipse are such strong energy, that means that if you're signing contracts or things, especially this close to Mercury retrograde, that you want to make sure that you know what you're signing, because this eclipse happens just 5 or 6 days before Mercury goes retrograde, and that can be, you get it all signed and then you start to say, oh, I wish I hadn't signed it. So you may feel a sense of trying to rush something, but if necessary, try to put the brakes on instead so that you are feeling sure before you get into something that you can't get out of. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the sun's not making an aspect with Jupiter, but everything is so elevated. You are so visible right now. So this is about mostly getting out there. And as I was saying in the opening, to look for love relationship without the expectation of finding it. Like, go get ready and go out there and smile at the world, but let go of the outcome of it. And I think you'll be very surprised at how many opportunities you attract when you do this. So it's, I said to one person who was very specifically doing this energy, it's like when you go into the bank for a loan, but you don't really need one, that's when they give you the loan. That's the kind of energy that you're doing right now. If you can approach love relationships with the idea of, I'm okay on my own, I think that you're going to find that, you are attracting lots and lots of attention. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the energy's pretty different because the sun's making a semi-square to Uranus, which means that there is a point of contention between the two of you that is starting to grate on this relationship, that it must be dealt with. This is like there's friction happening, and when there's too much friction, there can be fire, right? And you don't want something to get out of control. So it is very important to stop and shift behaviors, or at least start that conversation to find out what is bothering your partner, or to start talking about what's bothering you. And this energy is kind of interesting because the sun is in that placement of liking to be right, so that I'm knowledgeable about this. So be a little bit careful about coming across as I want to be right rather than find a solution. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mercury, which is at the very pinnacle of your chart. And that means that whatever it is that you've been working on and trying to get going, it's time to actually go to the people, the customers, to actually sell this. And that might mean picking up the phone and doing some cold calls, or buying some ads, or doing some content around what it is. But it's time for the announcement. Even if you don't feel ready, it's time at least for the soft launch to say, okay, let's get this show on the road. Now, you know, as an astrologer, I don't recommend that you specifically target the day of the eclipse for a launch, because in an eclipse, there is blocked energy. So that would mean that, you know, maybe you do it a few days before, maybe you do it a few days after, but don't do the exact day of the eclipse. But that said, this is a time where you have a megaphone, and so you can be heard by more people. And so this is the time to announce whatever it is. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mercury's making a semi-sextile to Neptune, so there is a possibility of profits here, more profits than usual, but it requires some paperwork or some small steps that need to be taken. And so look for what it is that you need to do. And these might be a little bit out of the ordinary, you know, or maybe you have a new system and you're working it out, you know, the little bumps in the road, but go and do those things and you'll make more money than usual over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Mercury's making hardly any aspects in this chart. It's doing the semi-sextile to Uranus, right? The semi-sextile to Neptune, and that's it. So it's hard to make a connection with the appropriate person right now if you're trying to get a raise. In other words, you might talk to your boss, but your boss says it's out of my hands, it's my boss that has to do this, or that your boss says, well, we're waiting for something to come down from up high about whether we can give raises at all. It just feels like it fizzles, and it's not making, your request is not getting to the right person. So this energy will line up better in the future. So if raise is what you're looking for, you just want to wait. Okay, Virgo, you are doing this lunar eclipse in your house of money. And that's also, of course, possessions. It is also self-worth, how you feel about yourself and your sense of deserving. So, but looking at your money, it can mean that there needs to be some sort of change in how you are handling money, or basically your relationship with money. Libra is very much about balance. And so if things feel out of balance, if there's been too much spending, or even if you've just been too frugal and it feels like the dam is going to burst, like to look at this and to ask yourself, you know, how can I put this more in balance without getting outside of where my goals are? This could also, though, be directly about relationships, maybe how your partner spends money, or your kids spend money, or your business partner, how they handle money. So it could be very much a person-to-person sort of connection. This could be about your relationship with your stuff, and you know, when it's time to let go of things, is that hard? Or is it that you are wanting to let go of your partner's stuff rather than your own? Or, you know, maybe you've already let go of your stuff and you want your kids to let go of their stuff. This is also about a sense of deserving or a sense of self-worth. And so if you are feeling like that you're not worthy, and yet everyone around you says that you are, then things are out of balance. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though there's no aspect between Mercury and Saturn, you have a very nice house of relationship this time. And so this is just a matter really of getting out in the world. And as I was saying in the opening, of going out and meeting people and being curious about their lives and what's going on with them, and letting go of the attachment of this idea that you're going to find the person. Just go out and meet people for the sake of meeting people, and you could make a very interesting connection, especially over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's making a semi-sextile to Neptune. So you do have a real opportunity to come together, to have a stronger relationship. But this is that the two of you need to work out some of the details of life And that might mean that you are getting on a budget, or that you are dividing up the chores a little bit differently, or there's some small little things that maybe have been bothering one or both of you that just need to be worked out, and then the relationship can be so much better. So, or the two of you are coming together to deal with some small things, and then the relationship is better. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Venus, which is in your house of relationships, and that indicates that by connecting with other people, you can make more money. So, but it is interesting because the lunar eclipse is saying there is some sort of disruption in relationships. So it's possible that you are reaching out to new people during this time, and that's what's bringing in the money, or visualizing ahead of time how you want the conversation to go, and then seeing how much then the conversation does shift to what you were picturing. This is also perhaps about sitting down with a business partner or a mentor or a teacher and really thinking about the things that you're trying to attract through money much more deeply. And that is to say, all right, well, yes, we want more customers, but why do we want more customers? And how can we bring this down to something very simple, that we are giving an offer that's just too good to pass up. So this can be, because Venus and Pisces can be very elegant and very almost intuitive. And so this may be shifting how you communicate with others to that very, simple, perfect flower of an idea that gets them to say, yes, I'm in. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Mars, the house is full, you have the eclipse in your house of money. It's very likely that money is on your mind, and that means there are money opportunities for you. So with eclipses, you must take different action. You can't do what you've done before to get, the same results. And it may be that these things that you're thinking about doing worked in the past, they're just not going to work now. So there are serious opportunities for you, even as close as this 2 weeks, but unfolding over weeks and months. But you must do it in a different way. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, the moon's not making an aspect with Venus, but the moon is in a money house. And so therefore there is an opportunity. I think, again, you're going to have to approach this in a different way. And so that might mean, instead of actually looking just for cash, look for some other benefits. But it may also be the approach is different, where you're not just saying, hey, I want to raise, but it may be more asking them what you need to do or what you need to change to make you a more valuable person in this company, or where a raise would be obvious. And so doing something like that pulls in that money-making Venus and Pisces, where you're actually kind of shifting the creative thinking to them so that they need to come up with an answer for you. And at that point, they can't argue with it. Okay, Libra, this is your lunar eclipse, and so that means that there are changes happening in your life. Now, one of the things to recognize is that you may already be in those changes, which means that the eclipse energy has already been used up by the job change you just had, or the move you did, or the relationship change. So the more changes you have made in your life, the more you've used up that energy. And then the universe says, great, you're already making adjustments, and there's no need for additional adjustments in your life. But if you have not changed something and you recognize that something should change, this is your gateway to do this. This is your off-ramp. And so looking at your life and saying, what would I like to change? And therefore, and then you'll get messages, and then you can say, all right, how can I do it? Because it's a Libra eclipse, the tendency is to say, well, if other people would change, then I would be okay. But we don't have control over that. And so this is, as you shift a behavior, other people magically change. It is remarkable when you make a realization, when you shift how you talk to someone, the words you use, suddenly they're different. And so that's what this eclipse can do. Now, lunar eclipses are not as strong as solar eclipses, but there will be a solar eclipse in Libra in October. So this is kind of the warm up to this time. And so there may be something in your life that you want to change, something fairly big, and you may not have enough of the momentum during this time, but you just start the process and then the change comes in October. So this is quite a long process, but that's okay. I think it's important to see this as an opportunity to make your life better because you are going to make this change. Now, sometimes because Libra focuses on one-on-one connections, there can be this idea that it has to be this person that is in front of you. And of course, if this is your partner and there's difficulties, it makes sense that you would say, they're not fulfilling me in these ways, or they're not connecting with me in these ways, or I can't reach them, I can't connect with them. So, but it's important to recognize that you have other options, even to stay in the relationship, but find maybe some fulfillment elsewhere in other things that you do and other people that you know, or to bring in other people, maybe as friendships or counselors, to help the two of you get closer together. So the energy of relationships, it can really focus you on just one person, but sometimes the eclipse says, look beyond that. And then finally, of course, Libra is about balance. And so looking at what is out of balance, whether that means you're giving too much, or if you are not interacting in the relationship, or if you just feel like something is out of whack, this is your opportunity to figure out specifically what needs to change. Try to make it something that you can change, that is within your control, and then the universe will help you get things back into balance. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is making a lovely sextile to Uranus. This is one of the few charts for the few signs that are getting a good aspect for this area. So this, and of course your house of relationships is lit up, and you're lit up because this eclipse is happening in your sign. So this is one of the best times for you to go find somebody new. First, starting and looking for connection, and be curious about the people you meet, and love could grow. Now, eclipse energy doesn't happen immediately, so it could be something that unfolds over weeks and months, but there is so much opportunity here. And so try to have some first dates, maybe not on the day of the eclipse, because, on the day of the eclipse, there is blocked energy. And so, but, maybe a few days before, a few days after, look at those times for being out in the world and meeting someone new. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, there's no aspect between Venus and Mars, but they are in the same sign, and your house of relationships are full. So this means that there is really an opportunity to come together and work something out. But it's not going to be quite as obvious. It looks like you two are coming at it from your own frames or your own point of view. And while there's a little bit that connects it, it's not meshing in a very obvious way. So it is going to take a little bit of work, but you can work out something that's important during this time. And what would be ideal is if you came in with your different skill sets to work on something together, and then you grow as a couple because of that. So that's a great possibility here. But you do have some good energy that you can work with, especially over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Pluto as usual, which is now in your house of creativity and risk-taking, as well as the Mars, which has entered this area of looking at systems and what you do on a daily basis to gain your goals. And so this is kind of about how stacking one brick on top of the other makes for the building. So it is like breaking things down to the smallest component that you can, and doing that thing and tweaking it so it gets better and better and better. So that might mean, you know, looking at your website every single day and saying, you know, what about the colors? Can we change those? Looking at your posts and saying, can this be repurposed for another platform? Looking at your pitch and saying, you know, are people not responding to this word? Will they respond better to this word? So looking at the systems and making incremental changes is the source of money, especially during this time. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is making a semi-square to Pluto and no aspect to Mars. So the semi-square means that I think that customers and clients might be very irritating during this time. And yet it's necessary for you to interact with them, of course, to make money. Or maybe it's your broker who is annoying, or just the website to access your investments is annoying. But the annoyance, the center of annoyance isn't them. There's something either with you or in your system or something that needs to change, and that's then clears for all time. And so it's a hurdle that leads to money. And so you just have to clear that hurdle. And instead of saying, I'm so mad that there are hurdles here, just clear the hurdle and then the money is there. And then when it comes to money derived from career, you have some very good energy. The sun's making a sextile to Pluto and a semi-sextile to Mars. I had to check. And so you're getting a double aspect. You have a really strong house of relationships. And so it's just time to go in and say to your boss, you know, what does it take for me to get more money? You know, like, tell me the path I need to take so that I can make the more money. If you are looking for a new job, this is a great time to get hired and negotiate for more money that way. So you have some very good energy in this area. Again, eclipse, the day of the eclipse is blocked energy. That's the transition of one state of being to the next state of being. So don't do it on the day of the eclipse, but on either side, yes. Okay, Scorpio, you're doing this lunar eclipse in this area of spirituality, but it's also your subconscious. It is the hidden parts of you, both the talents and the issues, the shadow side. And now the lunar eclipse comes and it shines a light, and then for the moment that light goes out, right? And then the light comes back on, so it's extremely noticeable. And when we're in this position, because Libra is the sign that is right before Scorpio, so if you think of yourself as moving forward, then Libra's back here, it's behind you. And so that means it's the part of your life where you're not really looking at it. It's not so easy for you to see. And so if we think about this in the area of changing relationships, it may be that something is changing in the relationships around you and you're not paying attention to it. And somebody is giving you signals to say that they're not happy or they're thinking about walking out, and you're not paying attention to it. But it also could be that you are saying that you want to meet somebody or you want to get into relationships. However, you're hiding. You are staying, you know, in the shadows because of past hurts, or it's just there's so many fun things to do when you're at home alone. And so this is where it's going to take diligence and mindfulness to be aware of, okay, I really want a relationship, and that means I need to get out and meet some people. And so I have to tear myself away from, you know, this TV show or the music or the art or whatever it is that is keeping you isolated. This also may be connecting with spiritual people. And so that might mean that, you know, you can make good connections right now going to meditation group or yoga class or hanging out at a local ashram, just so you can be with people who you resonate with on a spiritual level. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, you have that out of sign sextile between Neptune and Pluto, as well as the houses for relationships for you are chock full. You have multiple planets, you have multiple opportunities. So there could be a connection during this time that is just life-changing. So this is a really good time to get out into the world and meet new people. And again, I think, as I was saying in the opening, to go out with the idea of getting to know people and being interested in them, which you're very, very good at. You know, Scorpio energy is kind of like that detective investigator. So you like to ask those semi-deep questions that get people thinking and get the conversation really going. And that can be very good. So let go of the possible outcome of this is the love of your life, and just meet the person, find out who they are, and love could follow. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making a semi-square to Pluto. Semi-squares are not the easiest of aspects. There is a sense of friction happening between the two of you. Now, it does say that the two of you can work on this and you could find a solution, but it will take some work. And because it's an irritating aspect, there may be some reticence on either side that says, I don't really want to work on this. I've worked on this long enough. So if you want to move this relationship forward or strengthen this relationship, you have to get over the hurdle of the irritation of maybe having to have the same conversation again, but in a new way, or to let them talk about what's up with them and you're not getting to express how you feel. You know, so there may be, you know, some painful part of this, but on the other hand, you know, if you feel this is too painful, then you may want to wait and see if after these eclipses, if something could be remedied. It's just challenging right now because this is a relationship eclipse. And so it really does say it's time to work on relationships now. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Jupiter, which is in your house of relationships. But here you are, you know, maybe not interacting with the people who could be giving you money. You know, maybe you don't like asking people for money, or, you know, or sales in general, or maybe you think, well, I've built the website, why won't they come? When it really is about you interacting with people, meeting new people, finding out what they need, you know, actually finding out why they're not buying from your pitch. Why are they not clicking on that website? So doing more of an investigation right now could lead you to the answer that really brings you money. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, you're making about the same as usual. There's no aspect going on between Mercury and Jupiter. Additionally, during eclipse season, the markets can do a lot of gyrations. If the market is way up, which it has been lately, it can drop. You know, there can be big changes. We also have Mercury going retrograde, so be cautious during this time. There could be some buying opportunities if we do see a drop, but, you know, like if you're a long-term investor, there's no problem, because, you know, when the market goes up or down, especially if you're doing dollar cost averaging. But, you know, in general, be careful, because people will get you all riled up and revved up because of gyrations in the market, but you're not showing that action. It would be better just to stand on the sidelines and let other people run around and do whatever. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, there's no aspect going on between Mercury and Jupiter, and Mercury's in your house of work. So it is likely that if you bring up the raise at this time, you're just going to get more responsibilities and very little for it. So it would be ideal to just wait till outside this 2-week period, and I'd wait outside the solar eclipse that's coming up. So I'd wait at least a month before you move forward on this. If you've already started the negotiations and the talking about this, you can just bump it out a little bit so you can at least get clear of the new moon / eclipse that will be happening in a couple of weeks. Okay, Sagittarius, you're doing this very relationship-oriented eclipse in your area of friendships and community. So the shifts that may be happening might not be in a love relationship, although this is going to affect romance and dating. But if you're in an existing love relationship, it may not be as strong for you, but more about friendships and those connections like networking and professional connections, as well as, like I said, perhaps something about dating. So with this eclipse, it's suggesting that you look at how you're approaching people and do it differently. And so that may mean looking for love amongst your friends or asking friends why you're not finding love. This may be looking at the tribe you're with and saying, is this still my tribe? Or is, like, are you changing? And so therefore you should go in a different direction. Is the tribe changing? And therefore you are splitting off. And so it's about these types of relationships and how who you are may be shifting, and so that might mean that friendships are changing in your life. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though Mars is not making an aspect with Jupiter, all the energy is centered around this idea of romance and fun and doing something different, like changing how you've done it in the past. And so this can mean that you do meet somebody, and maybe because there's no aspect, it doesn't click right away, but this is the time where you're meeting the person. It's also possible that you're, getting fixed up with someone, and so you're feeling again like, I don't know if this is the person, but maybe it is. Or somebody who you're in a friendship with now comes to you and says, I'm very interested in a love relationship. So you have some really interesting energy. So if you're looking for love, you do want to be out in the world connecting. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, there's no aspect going on between Mercury and Jupiter. And though you do have some strong energy for, at home, and so, but this could be that maybe you're starting to talk about moving in together or doing something together at home, but it's not gelling, it's not connecting. And so the energy may pull you out into the world, and so that you're not home so much doing this, or that the two of you have different ideas, maybe of how to decorate the house or where you should move to, but you're just not finding the common ground right now. If this is a point of contention in the relationship, then you might want to go on this exploratory, I want to find out what my partner wants and why they want it sort of thing. But otherwise, if you can put off this kind of decision for a few weeks, that would be good. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the Saturn, which by sign makes a difficult aspect to this eclipse energy. And so what could be happening here is that you could find that you are doing things more and more differently than was suggested by your upbringing, that you are breaking out of some limiting beliefs or some limitations maybe put on you by family, maybe inadvertently by how you were trained or, your early education or things like that. So it feels like blocks are dissolving away, which is great, which would then give you opportunities in new directions and let you take bigger risks because you're believing in yourself. So I think the trajectory that you're heading is quite good. During the eclipse time, of course, it can be quite bumpy because other people are going through stuff. So as you make a breakthrough, don't expect everybody else to go, oh yeah, now I get it too. They may not. And so that's why this is a little bit of a process. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the moon's not making an aspect with Saturn. You have really strong energy towards service for others because almost all the planets are in that second quadrant. That means that you have to bring it. You have to bring the service to the people, and then they pay maybe, like maybe they're a good client, maybe they're a good customer, but you have to just bring the service and bring the expertise and bring your best game anyway. And then maybe the rewards come. But what I think is this means that you're planting some good seeds for the future. So if the reward doesn't come during this time, maybe it comes outside this 2-week period, or, you know, outside the eclipse season. So it's also, there's a part of you that just wants to do a great job anyway. And so that's okay during this time, again, because I think you're planting a seed. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so like a paycheck, it's an entirely different story. Venus is making a conjunction to Saturn. That is one of your best aspects for getting what you want when it comes to a raise. If you are in the process of getting a new job, it is quite possible that you can negotiate for a higher salary. This is really good energy, so you don't want to miss it. That said, the eclipse days themselves are not good for pursuing things because energy is blocked. And so if you're going to do something like sit down with your boss and ask for a raise, do it, you know, days before, days after the eclipse, but not on the exact day of the eclipse. Okay, Capricorn, you are doing this eclipse energy right at the top of your chart. That means that you're very noticeable. The things you're doing in the world are very noticeable. That can be wonderful for, you know, putting content out in the world, or, trying to meet somebody for a love relationship, or to do anything that expands your brand or your reputation. But it also means that things can change quite quickly, and that you need to be careful about how you're communicating what your intentions are out in the world. And so this means that as you have interactions with authority figures like your boss or someone in the world, you have to be careful about what you say. You also, this energy could come down to your house of home and family. And so this can be, you know, what you say to mom and dad, or brother and sister, or your kids. So this is very much about how you relate with people when you are the authority or when they are the authority. And, you know, so Capricorn energy really likes to receive respect, and that's reasonable. So, but the respect comes when you've earned it. And so if there is a lack of respect, either that is a problem with the other person, or maybe you have not done what's necessary to earn their respect. So you have to look at both sides, you know, and I think it's important to not just assume that the other person doesn't get you, but also ask yourself, okay, is there something here I need to change? And I'm talking about this in a very serious way, because this eclipse is an opportunity for you to change how you are interacting with these people and raise your game to a level where you start to get what you want. So I think that, you know, it may be that what this eclipse is about is you just taking the place of the authority, to stop questioning whether you can do something and just say, I can do this. And if you still feel like an imposter, then you go and practice and work on it until you feel confident. That's the key to getting out of imposter syndrome. So the bottom line here is this eclipse, which everybody is looking at, is right at the top of your chart, making you more noticeable. That's a great opportunity for you for getting a new job, or finding someone for friendship or partnership. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is conjunct Saturn, and this is one of the best aspects of that any sign is getting. You have more opportunities for love relationship right now. That's great. The issue is that almost all the planets are below the horizon, and that means that you're not getting out of the house, that you have to get out into the world so that you can meet this person. So, you know, make an effort to be out in the world, and as you are out in the world, you know, look up from your phone, see who's around you, interact with them. You could meet someone for a love relationship during this time. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's not making an aspect with Saturn, but the eclipse energy can affect home and family. So therefore, there may be some issue in your love relationship, in your partnership, that needs to be dealt with, but you don't have the connection right now, the energy to do it. And so this is a time where you just have to listen, because they may be doing the aspect. So let them initiate and say, oh, I'm upset about this and I want to talk this through. And then be the willing listener and empathetic and understanding about their position. And that can help you through this and actually make the relationship so much better. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money both from that Saturn, which is sitting in Pisces, and Uranus, which is in Taurus. And both of those signs, while not completely lined up, but both of those signs are in conjuncts to a Libra lunar eclipse. So in conjuncts are about adjustments. And when we get two in conjuncts going towards one point, we get a yod. Now, again, this is not lining up perfectly, or else I would have been talking about it since the beginning, but it is an opportunity for you to work on something through the sextile energy of Saturn and Uranus to make adjustments, and as you make the adjustments, then you get what you want. So in this case, this is the Saturn is the structure and the Uranus is the change. And so it is looking at each and every structure that you have set up for your business or your investments and saying, what do I need to change here? You know, do I need to change something because trends are changing or technology is changing, or that this system's just not working? So looking at the different things that you, especially things that you say, this is in place, this is the thing I don't want to change. Start with that thing and say, what do I need to change about it? Now, when it comes to money from business or investments, the sun's making a semi-square to Uranus. That's a hard aspect. And that means that the money is there and there's some sort of hurdle or irritation that you have to get through to get it, which is so perfect for what I was just talking about changing something that you feel is solid. And so that might mean that customers or clients are coming to you and saying, I want you to do it this way. You know, or I want this as broken down into smaller chunks, or I want to pay over time, or there's something different, but there is a money-making opportunity here if you can make that change. It's just the change is going to grate on you a little bit, and so go towards the pain, and that's where the cash is. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, there's no connection right now between Saturn and Uranus and Pluto and Mars, and so it's very difficult right now to get a raise at that, and that's just a temporary time. But if you were in the process of working on this, you may have to put this off until not just outside this 2-week period, but outside the eclipse season. So think about that as for at least a month. It is possible that something big is changing in your industry or in your company, and you just have to wait till the dust settles. But because there's no aspect and because the eclipse is in your house of career, I just want you to focus on bringing value to your company and being noticed for your accomplishments. And then otherwise, if you feel that something doesn't work in this company, to start quietly looking for something else. But in general, what you're going to find is most of your opportunities for more money in your job are going to come outside the eclipse season. Okay, Aquarius, you are doing this eclipse energy in your area of knowledge and writing, teaching, publishing, as well as legal matters. And so this eclipse could bring some sort of legal matter that was already started to a head, or there may be some back and forth with communications about a legal matter. And a lot of this is going to center around how you are relating to someone else and how that communication is going. And so that it's a really good time to not just say whatever you think, but to measure what you say so that you think of the long-term implications of what you might be saying, especially if it's in writing. Now, on a positive side, there is some great opportunities to connect, especially through your writing or your teaching, or to connect with people in foreign lands. So that would be good. You could also have breakthroughs in understanding of recognizing what the meaning is behind something that you've been working on, or to understand a difficult concept. So those are the pluses. It's an eclipse, and so watch out for the contracts that you're signing. Make sure, especially true because Mercury is going to go retrograde in just a few days after this lunar eclipse. So be careful about signing contracts. If you absolutely need to, make sure that you've read it through. Give yourself an out, write an out in the contract if possible. But just proceed with contracts very carefully during this time. I should also mention, which I hadn't, and maybe in a long time on this channel, that this area of life is also rules in-laws. And so because you're doing an eclipse there can be a relationship issue with an in-law. That would be, a parent-in-law or a sibling-in-law. So keep that in mind too as you are moving forward through this eclipse season. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury's making a semi-sextile to Uranus, and it's not the strongest of aspects, but it is an aspect, and it does mean that you could meet someone, and that could be the beginnings of a love relationship. So the harder thing is that you've got everything below the horizon. It's harder for you to be visible. So you need to get out of the house. You need to get out into the world. And, you might want to wear some bright colors or stand in the center of the room. You need to do some things to be seen. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the Sun's making a semi-square to Uranus. This is a challenging aspect, and it's during an eclipse that is about relationships. So it's quite possible that the two of you have a point of contention that you need to deal with. This can mean, because of this placement of the eclipse, that you're defining a word or a phrase differently, and you don't realize it. So this may be that you need to get into the weeds and get a dictionary out and agree on a definition for something. Or it may be about the timing of communication, that you say, I want to hear from you often, and from your standpoint that is every 3 days, and they say I want to hear from you often, and they mean every 3 hours. So working out the differences on this minute level is really good during this time. It's going to be difficult though, because a semi-square is an irritating aspect, so you're not going to want to do it. But if you do, you can gain real benefits. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money both from Neptune, which is in Pisces, and Jupiter, which is in Taurus. And both of these signs are not compatible with Libra. And so it says basically that to get what you want, you have to make some sort of adjustment. And that is perhaps a concession to what the marketplace wants, or that you have to shift your ideas to be more in line with what people are asking for. And this can be challenging because you might be very fixed and focused on what it is that you want to offer when somebody else keeps asking for something else. I mean, it reminds me of, I had a friend, and she owned a metaphysical, spiritual bookstore, but the name of the bookstore gave the impression that people could come in and ask for Bibles, and she didn't have Bibles, and so she either needed to start stocking the Bibles or change the name of the store. So sometimes, when we're doing something, she was really attached to the name, but in this case, it would have been better to make the adjustment one way or the other. The whole situation reminds me of a friend of mine who had a little shop that was selling spiritual tools and books and things like that. But the name of the shop gave people the impression that they could find food there and snacks there. And, so I can't remember if it was like Food for Thought or something like that. But it was, so people kept coming in and looking for, something to eat. And she didn't have that. And so either she needed to change the name of the business or she would need to start stocking the food. And so when you are faced with something like that, to not hold on and say, no, I have to re-educate the entire world. Instead, say, okay, maybe I need to make a change here. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mercury is making a semi-sextile to Neptune. So there is a possibility of some profits and additional profits than usual, but there may be some fees attached or some steps you have to take or some details you have to pay attention to make this happen. You do have a strong house of money this time, and and communication is very highlighted. So I do think you could make more money over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Jupiter's not making an aspect with Neptune. Neptune's still in a money house, that's good, but the eclipse could be too disruptive during this time to be asking for a raise, and since you're not doing an aspect, it may not manifest. Like you could get some promises, but I think it would be better just to wait until after eclipse season. So wait a month before you start to breach this topic. Broach, not breach. So I think that there are some opportunities to make some more money, but it's just not quite during this eclipse time. Okay, Pisces, this eclipse is hitting in your area of resources, power, control, and it's also the area of intimacy. And intimacy is about secrets, about the inner workings of the relationship, really. And so this eclipse means that there is a change happening. And so it's possible that this could be something like discovering that your partner has debt where you thought that they didn't, or discovering some other secret about your partner, or you revealing a secret about yourself, and that changes the dynamic of the relationship. So these types of things are quite possible. This is also, though, as I said before, about resources, power, and control, and that means that there could be someone who has promised you resources that now is saying, I can't do it because there's a change in their circumstances, or that you are looking and thinking you have control over something, and you find that you don't have control over that thing, which, there's so few things that we do control. We do have to have that understanding that some things are just not in our control. Because this is a relationship-oriented eclipse, if you're getting into a relationship, this may be the time where you are revealing the deeper things about yourselves so that you can see if you mesh as a couple. And this is also, though, how the two of you are coming together even on a physical level. And so, because the intimacy, of course, would cover that as well. And so that's where you're looking to see if the communication is good, where you're talking about what you need and listening to what they need, etc. And then finally, because the Libra is about balance, and again, it's very big on communication, what kind of communication is happening between you and your money manager, or you and your banker, or you and your insurance person? Is there some need for some clarity in that area? And then, because Libra does balance, it may be about looking at whether you are giving away your power, or whether someone is trying to take your power and you're allowing that. And so regaining your power, putting the scales back in balance so that you know who you are and you know where your boundaries are. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, there's no aspect going on between the moon and Neptune. I had to check. There's no aspect going on between moon and Jupiter either. Plus, almost everything is below the horizon, which means that you're more focused right now on you and taking care of you and understanding you and doing that inner work that's so important, but also taking care of your health and taking care of your money and those sort of things. So you're doing good work. That's wonderful, but that does kind of interrupt going out there and meeting the new people. So if you want to connect with others, well, you're not doing the aspect right now. I think it'd probably be better just to wait outside the 2-week period for that first date so that the energy, which will line up in the future. Actually, I think it's going to line up outside the whole eclipse season, so that would be waiting a month. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, it's an entirely different story. Mercury is making a semi-sextile to Neptune, so you do have an aspect. You have the eclipse energy that says that you have an ability to work out something and make a change when it comes to an intimate relationship. So you have some energy there, and you have a very strong relationship house because Mars and Saturn and Venus and Neptune are all in your sign. So this really bodes well for working on your love relationship, making it better, making it stronger. Recognize, though, that your partner may take this eclipse hit more directly than you are. And so they may have something very upsetting happening in their life, and they may need a shoulder to lean on, so a shoulder to cry on, and because changes are going on in their life. And that does also bring an opportunity for you to understand each other better, which is great, but, just recognize that, that there's a semi-sextile energy here, and the semi-sextile means that there's still some details that have to be worked out to make this relationship better. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mars, which is now in Pisces, and it's going to be there for a couple of months. This is an opportunity to take massive action towards your goal, and that's what's needed. Mars is action, and it's in your own sign, so it is about just moving forward. And so that means maybe making the sales pitches, or calling up the customers, or putting out more content, or buying ads, or doing something that is moving you towards your money goal. And it's also, budgeting and, looking at your finances, looking at your investments, exploring different methods of making money. It's just saying take massive action. Mars is only in Pisces every 2 years, so this is such an opportunity for you, and it's just beginning right now. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, even though Mars is not making an aspect with Venus, your houses of money are filled. You have so many opportunities. I just think that the profits will come outside the 2-week period. So take the action. You could, secure sales and investment opportunities. And I guess I should say at this time, because you are doing so much money energy, that markets can really fluctuate during eclipse season, especially when we have Mercury retrograde as well. So, but that could bring some huge buying opportunities, and that could be then super profitable for you in the future. So if the markets start making some huge gyrations, remember, if you're a long-term trader, that this is, it's okay if the market drops. It's just going to bring you some buying opportunities. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, again, Mars is not making an aspect here to Saturn. However, money houses are full, so there are some opportunities here. Maybe these would be more in the lines of perks. So work at home opportunities, bonuses, or something where, you get equipment, or you get something like a new chair, something that makes your life at the office better. So, but this is a good time to plant seeds for the future. So maybe talking to your boss about a raise, but saying, let's set the meeting for a few weeks from now. And, that's when you'll get some aspects lining up. And so, but this, you're still doing good energy. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to look at this eclipses, both of these eclipses in more detail, specifically for your chart, I do readings. There's a link in the description, and I will see you in the next video.